Hey everybody, welcome to Live at Chance's house. It is another glorious Thursday. Season 2 is upon us, and I couldn't be more excited right now to have someone that I've recently connected with, and his name's Rob Gaylard. Rob, how are you today, sir?
Good, thanks, Chance, and even better now I'm on your program. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really excited. So for everyone, this is first time seeing Rob. He goes by the Nomadic or the Nomadic Band, and you can find them on all kinds of places. I'll be pushing it out on the on the show. You'll be able to see where you can find him, all the links. We met on Instagram. He's got a great sound, and you know what? We just started chatting, and it ended up being an opportunity for us to talk a little bit because I'm looking over his profile, and he's had a heck of a life already, and he's out making music. And just like all of us, we're trying to get past all of the things that are going on during the pandemic. But wonderful artist and a lot to talk about today. So, Rob, why don't you just, because I want to know too, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in this whole crazy music world?
Well, thanks, and thanks for having me on the show. I think music's always been in my blood, and right from an early age, my dad played guitar and Spanish guitar, and my parents listened to the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. Were Australian, but we grew up very internationally. My parents were sort of working internationally when I was young, so I pretty much moved to 5 different countries before the age of 10.
Wow.
So that's really where the name Nomadic came in. And I guess I always just could find myself lost in a song or a riff, or some of those great 80s bands, Simple Minds, U2, Dire Straits, or any really classic sort of 80s pop song, Boys of Summer, for example, things like that. I remember just getting completely lost even at a very young age in that kind of music. So that's where it started. And then at school in the UK, there's the whole kind of 90s, Brit rock scene, Oasis, Radiohead, Blur. And, a few of us at guitar played school and at school played guitar. And, you weren't worth your weight if you couldn't play, Oasis, Don't Look Back in Anger or Wonderwall. So that's really where it started. And I guess I was sort of 15, 16, 17, started to write songs, and it's just sort of continued ever since. But as you said, I've had a very nomadic career, and some of the countries I've ended up working in, not exactly conducive to a sort of rock and roll career, perhaps, some of the places I've been. So it really wasn't until I came to New York in sort of 2012, 13 that I was able to pursue the dream of kind of really launching my music.
Well, that's a great background to kind of give us an idea about how you got started. I kind of feel like we sort of have a similar background. I, as well, grew up listening to a lot of the stuff in the 80s. I mean, I'm in my late 40s at this point, so I'm certainly in tune with all the bands that you just mentioned. And yeah, there wasn't a night that I couldn't play Wonderwall at some place that I had to go play at. And Oasis, I actually liked that band. So listening to your music. So first off, I found you on a playlist that we're both on Spotify. And I don't know if you have this same problem, but I'll start listening to some of the music and I'm like, okay, rap, trance, dubstep. And I'm like, look, I appreciate all kinds of music, but it's just kind of not my thing. And then I ran across your track. I'm like, ooh, hey, who's this? And I just listened to the whole thing. Well, the song was Drifting. And man, it hooked me. I liked that song. It's in my wheelhouse. It kind of feels very similar to my style. But what was fascinating is the production was fantastic, and I really like all the instrumentation. So do you have a band, or is this all you?
Well, it's a bit of both. I mean, I do have a band that I play live with, but also a lot of the production I worked with my producer Steve Rossiter at Axis Sound, and we work out a lot of that ourselves, like the guitar and the piano and the guitar delay. So it's a bit of both. I mean, I have different musicians that I collaborate with and that I bring in, but the Nomadic is, I guess it's kind of mostly me, and then musicians that I bring in for different sort of songs and projects. And it's a pretty core group who play with me live. But obviously, sadly, that's been almost a year now since we've played live. So yeah, it's my songs, and then by bringing in different people to sort of support on different areas, and working with my producer on the final tracks.
Are you a multi-instrumentalist, or are you primarily guitar?
Primarily guitar, acoustic and lead, but I also I play piano. Like I've got some tracks coming out that are mostly piano based. So songwriter, but I definitely write songs on guitar and piano for sure.
Is this right now your primary, maybe your primary focus, but is it currently your primary job, or do you do something outside of being a musician right now?
Well, I've worked for the United Nations since about late 2002, 2003, and managed to sort of work all around the world with the UN. And I took a year off in 2019 to focus on music. But then I went back in November of last year. So I work with the UN. I'd probably say they're both equally the same sort of passion, but they obviously sort of tick different boxes. At the moment I do both, and I probably take them both pretty seriously.
Sure. No, I understand. I'm a working Joe, and I have a working passion for music as well. So I certainly
Right.
understand that. What do you find the most difficult part of being what I would say independent musician at this point? Do you have a label? Do you have anyone supporting you from a marketing side and a push that way? Because you've got, from what I can see on YouTube and Spotify, look, I know some of that is going to be marketing pushes that we all have to do. But you can't deny, 80,000 views of a video on YouTube. I mean, how are you promoting yourself, and how difficult is that for an independent artist? Because I'm feeling a lot of pain with this.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think fundamentally I've been having this conversation with a lot of people recently. My sister and a friend of mine who's more like a mentor to me in music, Stephen Nathan, who's off the band Don't Believe in Ghosts. So he's probably a bit of a coach and a mentor to me. And he was sort of reminding me that don't forget that you're primarily an artist. And I've always been a very sort of prolific songwriter and enjoyed songwriting. But as you know, sometimes you have to dedicate yourself to the business side, whether it's, trademarking or copyright or registering songs or the marketing, the social media, and all of that takes up a lot of time. So I enjoy that as well. But I think you always have to remember that first and foremost, if you're not producing good music, then you've got no leg to stand on. So I think fundamentally that has to come first, and it's a passion for all of us, right? So I think that has to come first, but there is that other business side of it. And I think what I've learned is to try and just bring in people where I may have a weakness. So it could be graphic design, could be building a website, could be social media, could be pitching to playlists, video production. I'm not personally very good at making music videos, for example, but I'll have ideas for treatment. So I try and bring in people who can sort of help me, because I don't think one person can do everything. So I think it's learning what you're good at and then what you can outsource. That would be my biggest advice for any independent musician. But frankly, I'm just like all of us, trying to find my way. So I don't want to set myself up as any kind of guru at all.
I understand. I think that there's a couple of things that I've learned through all of this, and since I've been having more time at home because I'm not getting out as much, I have had some of that time to focus on not only writing and getting out the content, as you say, because we're artists first, but I'm sort of a super nerd. So I do dabble in video production and handling social media things. I really do need help with that because I need to spend more time on the music side than I need to do on everything else. So another song that I heard that I know that you're pushing right now that you just recently released is Manhattan View. And right. I love the idea of the song. So first off, it's got, obviously comes from the fact that you live in New York. It's a great story of a song. Tell me a little bit about that. And when did you release it?
It was released on video 2 weeks ago, Friday, 2 weeks ago. And the single came out on the 29th of July. So it's been out basically since late July, the single, and then the video a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, I live in Long Island City in New York. So I have that view of Manhattan. My apartment kind of looks over Manhattan. And I mean, I think you called it we were chatting on Instagram, it is the song about kind of the loss of someone, the loss of a relationship. And I was just sort of staring out one night from my apartment and just sort of jamming away with a couple of chords, and that kind of verse and chorus came to me, I see you on a clear Manhattan view, and it just sort of summed everything up. So it's kind of like, seeing someone's face in your head and outside your window when they've gone. I think it was written in the very early stages of quite a painful breakup. So So it's just one of those songs that, just came together really quickly. I think I wrote it in one setting, and the lyrics flowed, the verses, the chorus, it just flowed. And and it means a lot because I've lived in New York since September 2012, so it's just a little bit more than 8 years, and it's definitely become like a second home to me. And obviously everything that it went through recently with the COVID situation, like everywhere in the US and the world, just kind of wanted to pay a bit of tribute to New York and just sort of express my love a little bit. So it's sort of about obviously a person in a breakup in a situation, but it's also just a kind of bit of a tribute to New York.
Do you find that when you write songs that you write them pretty quickly, or do you find that it's an arduous process sometimes and you've got stuff you've been sitting on for 10 years?
It depends. Normally, I think my best ones, sometimes it's just one sitting, and then sometimes I piece together 3 or 4 different elements of various songs into one song. Like I have one, Is It Too Late to Start a Revolution, which is definitely a bit of a hit when we play live, which will be coming out in the next few months. And that was 2 or 3 different songs pieced together. And lately during COVID, I've been writing a lot, but not always complete songs. So I'll have to sit down and see how I can piece all that together. But normally, that's the biggest buzz. I think you'll probably empathize when you sit down and something just magically comes together. But as a songwriter, it doesn't always happen like that, obviously.
That's true. How would you best categorize your music? Because I would probably say it's in the like indie acoustic rock sound. I don't know. Do you have a specific thing that you go, this is who I am as an artist? What would you classify your music as?
I think it's indie alternative rock. There is some, as we release more stuff, I think you'll see that there's different, there's been some kind of, Bob Dylan comparisons with some of the songs, which are more folky. Walk the Streets, I don't know if you've heard that, but we just released that last Friday. That's a bit more probably like country rock. There's some that are more country, so I'm trying to just switch it up and keep it sort of new and novel, because I am a relatively new artist. I guess it's 5 or 6 songs out now, and I'm going to just try to keep releasing one every month or 6 weeks. So but probably indie alternative rock is most of what I write, I would say.
What's been so far the coolest gig you've played to date?
I always love playing the Bowery Electric in New York. I don't know if you've ever been there, but that's like a really, really cool club, 327 Bowery. The Bitter End as well is a very famous one down in the Greenwich Village. I really love that. Arlene's Grocery, Rockwood Music Hall. But I have a soft spot for Bowery Electric because that's, where we first played. I think it was March 2017. And like a friend of mine said, oh, my buddy's band is sort of, dropping out. Do you want to play? And it was like, we had like 8 days to rehearse. So it was kind of, that was a bit of a sprint to the finish line, and it ended up, and of course, everyone I knew came along and watched. So, and I remember being so nervous that day, I could hardly move for the whole day. I was just so nervous about playing in New York. So that will always, have a special place, I think, in my heart.
What are some of your biggest influences to what you do? Look, like my favorite bands aren't necessarily the way I write. They certainly have influence on me. So, I listen to everything. Pink Floyd is probably my favorite band in the whole world. But they're not oftentimes the ones I listen to the most when I'm trying to dig in the well, so to speak. Who are some of your influences?
Well, definitely, you'd have to say Oasis. That's kind of how I learned, early guitar, Oasis, Radiohead, The Verve, early kind of Coldplay. But then, Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, again, you said Pink Floyd, U2. And then lately, there's bands like War on Drugs. I like them a lot. Phosphorescent, that kind of Phosphorescent song for Zula. I was obsessed with that song in 2016. So yeah, The National, I really like The National as well. Anything that kind of blends sort of, atmospheric kind of sounds with really cool, interesting songwriting. That's kind of what I'm going for, I would say. So, and I'll try not to release something unless I'm really happy with the lyrics. I'd never just put something out. So, wait till I'm super happy with it.
You mentioned a lot of bands there, and of course, there's so many great classic rock bands from both sides of the pond, so to speak. I tend to listen to a lot of, awesome classic, English bands as well. Oasis is definitely someone that I love. I like Blur a lot, but I also tend to migrate, and I may even be dabbling a little bit in writing some songs that are going to be sort of in that almost electronic alternative rock sort of sound. Like, I love Gorillaz, and I think that what they do is, look, Damon Albarn and everything he does to me is, he can't do wrong in my eyes. So I think that that's really interesting. Do you play around with some of those sounds? Do you like doing electronic beats? Are you experimenting with different types of sounds as you're trying to develop your own musical style?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I have some different songs coming out that are a little bit more in that vein. And I'm also trying to switch up the way I write, like not just always have me on a guitar or piano, but sort of mess around with Logic. And I think that's really key to keep growing and evolving and trying different things. I think that's really important for sure.
What's the one song that's taken off the most right now? And what's your favorite song you got out right now?
I think on Spotify, Beyond Blue is doing really well. And that means a lot to me, because it's kind of about being there for someone, when they're going through a tough time with depression or mental health. And yeah, it's definitely something I've sort of experienced and seen a lot, in my family and friends. And so that's something that people, and I don't know if you've checked out the video, but I think the video is pretty cool. So yeah, if any listeners want to check out our YouTube, and definitely subscribe. But yeah, I mean, Beyond Blue is doing very well. I love Waiting. I mean, Waiting to me, I think, is just a really cool song. And again, it's kind of about New York. And I think that would probably Waiting. But I mean, Walk the Streets is one of my oldest and best songs we just released that. And that has quite an upbeat feel to it. So I like the way that's sort of contrasted. It's a more of an upbeat feel versus some of the earlier ones are maybe a little bit melancholic. I think Waiting's still my favorite. I mean, a lot of people, like you say, love Drifting. Like my brother-in-law just loves Drifting. He's like, that was my family, obviously they're very loyal. And he's like, that's the best song I heard last year. I was like, you can't be listening to much music. But anyway, but a lot of people really love Drifting. But for me, maybe, I mean, I love them all, but, sure. And I might go through phases of like, at the moment it might be Walk the Streets, and a couple of months ago it was Waiting. But I think of the 5 so far, maybe Waiting's my favorite.
All right. Well, that said, we can't keep talking about this music without hearing some of it. So everyone, right now, we're going to play the latest from the Nomadic. This is Manhattan View.
Looking out on a Manhattan view, dark clouds and shades of blue, memories fading gently in my head, and thoughts of you. Looking out as the clouds unfold, all those stories are left untold. Looking out in thoughts of you. Looking out, I see your face, knowing I can't be in that place. Bodies rest on a windowsill. Looking out with my mind on fire, full of thoughts of revenge and desire, knowing I can't sit still. And I see you, I see you, I see you. Looking out on a clear Manhattan view, where I see you, I see you. looking out where the fire in my head, knowing I got to put this to bed, knowing I can't get you back. Looking out with shame in my eyes, knowing I can't face their surprise, knowing you and I are dead. And I see you, I see you, I see you, looking out on a clear Manhattan view, where I see you, I see you, looking out on a clear Manhattan
Rob, I got to tell you, I heard that song really for the first time just a couple of days ago, and my wife and I listened to it again, and it's just such a fantastic song. She's from New York, and it brought back memories. She actually asked me, she's like, make sure you ask him where he's from, because I'm curious to know. She lived in the Bowery. She lived in the Bowery for years. She lived in Hell's Kitchen back a long time ago, before it was trendy to live in Hell's Kitchen. But she spent a lot of time there. So what a great song. Everyone check out the Nomadic. You can find him on Spotify. You can find him on YouTube. Give him a like. Make sure you check it out. The video production was great. I'll tell you what I really like about it, and maybe it's my affinity for like Floyd and other stuff like that, but man, your backup singers are great.
Yeah.
Is that like 1, 2, 3 people? Is it one person you do some effects with it? Because I mean, whoever that is, she sounds awesome.
Yeah, Monica Chalona, off Daphne Music. So she plays with me a lot and sings with me, and she's a fantastic, singer and singer-songwriter in her own right. But yeah, she has an incredible voice, and I think the mix with my voice, and then also Steve Rossiter, my producer, adding some backing vocals. I was really happy with how it turned out, and as I said, it's kind of a tribute to New York. And to answer your wife's question, I'm Australian, but I've grown up
Right.
as a nomad, and I currently live in Long Island City. And I would just say, the US generally, and New York it's kind of like a second home to me, just such a welcoming place for people to come and pursue their dreams and, pursue their creative passions. So I'll always have a very soft spot in my heart for New York and the US generally. It's literally like a second home for me,
I do. So when you decide to, okay, first off, not when you decide, I guess when we all decide that it's safe to get out, when we all start doing the things we're supposed to be doing, and maybe we can, finally beat this virus so that we can get back to some normalcy in our lives. What's your plan? You said earlier, we were talking before we started, you said that, your plan is to do some touring around and, grab a guitar and get out and play some places. You want to do that with a group of people, or are you going to kind of go be nomadic a little bit across the United States and take trips around and try and find places to play? What's your plan when we can get back to normal here a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the plan for the time being is to release all this stuff I've been working on, the songs and the videos, and to get the word out there. So thanks very much for having me on your show, and obviously try and build up a bit of a following, get the music out there, and then I think I'll do the nomad thing and just go out and play at a bunch of radio stations and I don't know, open mics and different gigs and just do that and test the songs out. And I mean, hopefully I'll have a bit of a following by then anyway. And then yeah, just spend a bit of time in different places in the US, get to know the US a bit, keep writing, keep releasing, and just be truly nomadic.
Is your job going to allow you to kind of take a break? Do you have the kind of position that lets you kind of come and go, or are you going to have to say, all right, adios, I'm finally done and I'm going to pursue this musical career?
I'm just taking it day by day. I think basically everyone at work is incredibly supportive of the Nomadic. I mean, they all wear the merch, they all listen to the music, and they're all like fully supportive. So I think there might be potential to take a bit of time off again.
Sure.
So that would probably be the aim, to take a bit more time off and see how it goes with the music.
So a couple of quirky questions, and then, just kind of anything you want to wrap up about. I'd like to know what you think. And listen, I know this was kind of impromptu, and maybe even some people might even think a little bit weird. Hey, how did you meet this person and what happened? Well, we met on Instagram because I told him I liked his song. But the musical community really has an open arms. Everyone's really just trying to support each other. And when you find things that you like and you create fans, because, look, I'm a fan. I'm going to support your music because I like it. I like the fact that you're on my show and that I'm able to help promote it. It does something for me, but ultimately the thing it did for me was it gave me a different influence, and it let me listen to something new that I really enjoyed. And I, thank you for what you do, because the music, I really like it. And I hope everyone else does too.
Well, thank you for that.
If you could go out on tour, say the Nomadic doesn't work out, you take the skills that you got and you could go out on tour with any band right now. They said, yeah, come on, you can come tour this. Who would you love to play with on stage?
Well, there's obviously the bigger acts, like the kind of, the 1975 or the National or the War on Drugs. There's a band from Austin that I really love and I've been checking out a lot called the Night Traveler. And I've been putting them on some of my playlists, and I've again contacted them on Instagram. Talk about a weird way of, maybe that's how I meet everyone nowadays, I don't know. But a couple of really friendly guys from Austin. They have this band called the Night Traveler, and it's definitely a band worth checking out. 1984 is a cool song. Burn is a cool song. They're all really cool songs. So if the Nomadic didn't work out, I was just having this thought the other day, maybe I could go and play rhythm guitar for them or something. But I'm like you, I like to support kind of bands that are coming up rather than, the big superstars. They don't maybe need our support, but definitely the Night Traveler is a really cool band. There's a great singer-songwriter from Brisbane, which is where my dad's from, Australia, called Mallrat, song called Groceries. I think she's like 18 and she's already, got like millions of followers.
Wow.
So she doesn't need my support, but I definitely appreciate her songwriting. And my little niece in the UK is 10 years old and wants to be the next Mallrat rather than the next Nomadic. So I've inspired and introduced her to some new music. So maybe a couple of bands like that, I would I might have more traction than if I contacted Chris Martin or Noel Gallagher.
So the first album I bought, I'm sure that it was because I did something, or maybe I had some birthday money and my dad gave me $10 or something. I don't know. But technically the first album I ever bought was 1984 from Van Halen. And the second one was Diver Down from Van Halen. What was the first album that you ever bought?
I think it would have had to been either Definitely Maybe or What's the Story, Morning Glory by Oasis in the mid-90s. I do remember in the late 80s, my sister had In Excess, I think, Kick in 87, 88, and she'd always play that. She'd always play Eurythmics, but I was a bit young then. I think yeah, What's the Story, Morning Glory probably was the. And I still remember the first time I heard Don't Look Back in Anger, I was like, whoa, that's like the best song that was ever written, So.
Definitely one of my favorites. I remember when it came out too. I must be just a little bit older than you, because I was in college when Definitely Maybe came out, and once the story Morning Glory came out, Oasis went on tour, and they came here to Dallas Fort Worth, and they played at a place that's no longer around, and it was called the Bronco Bowl. And I never knew about it, and I went there for the first time, and I thought, oh, bowl, like Hollywood Bowl, or like it's a circular bowl. Well, it was a half bowl arena, but it was literally in a bowling alley. and it was called Bronco Bowl, like to bowl. I'm like, that's the weirdest thing ever. But it was the coolest venue. It only held 3,000 people, and Oasis came to play, and I was center, like mid, so I was super close. And I'll never forget that while the band was kind of taking a break, Noel came out by himself with an acoustic guitar, and he played an acoustic version of Help by the Beatles. And that was the coolest thing I think I had ever seen at a concert up to that point.
Wow.
Because it was just real and it was raw. And he's like, hey, I just gonna play a song real quick. And then everyone singing. It's just like this moment of absolute quiet with the guitarist from Oasis on an acoustic guitar singing a cover tune, and it was like the coolest thing ever. Anyway, that's my Oasis story. I don't have much more than that, but those guys are definitely in, my wheelhouse and music that I love to listen to. All right, so what's the final word, man? This is for you. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm just so grateful that you decided to come on, and I'm really glad to have had a chance to talk to you and get to know you a little bit. And I really hope that we stay connected, and maybe we can do it again when you get your next release out.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, my final word would be, thanks for reaching out and thanks for having me on your show. It's great that you're doing this, especially during this, difficult time. And I know for everyone, this is a bit of a tough time. So at the Nomadic, we're going to be trying to just release songs, release videos. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, and I think over the next few months and years, you'll be pleasantly surprised that you did. We're going to be releasing a whole ton of material and hopefully playing live as soon as this COVID thing is over. So yeah, check us out, and hope to meet you at some point in New York or on the road when I get out on my nomadic existence. Hopefully next year. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I would love that. And thank you so much. Well, guys, listen, you saw it here first. Maybe this is one of those times we're going to be on a documentary later. They're going to be asking questions, 10 years down the road, Rob's going to be saying, yeah, man, back before I got started and made all these millions of dollars and all these album sales. Yeah. There was this guy in Texas. He was the guy that started this whole thing off. Listen.
And I'm going to be like, hey, look, I played at the Super Bowl, but no one told me it was in a bowling alley.
So guys, listen, check out the Nomadic. His name is Rob Gaylard. He's got a lot of great stuff. Check out his bio too on Spotify. Just scroll down and look at it. I mean, that's what hooked me. I was like, man, this guy's been around. He's done a lot of things. He's got a fascinating life. You've heard a little bit about him. You've heard Manhattan View. We're going to segue before I play live tonight for Live at Chance's House. I'm going to segue. We're going to play another song from Rob. I'm going to do a grab bag. I'm probably going to play Drifting because I actually like that song. And I want you guys to be able to experience. But check him out on Spotify. Give him a subscribe on YouTube. All the links will be up here as well on top. And once again, hey, Rob, thank you so much for taking the time. And I really look forward to seeing what else you have to promote. And I can't wait to maybe, if your nomadic ways bring you towards Texas, I'm definitely going to try and come and see a show. And I definitely would like to meet you. So many blessings. Stay safe and take care.
Thanks a lot, Chance. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for the chat.
Thank you. Guys, we'll be right back for more Live at Chance's House. I'll be playing live for you for the next hour. We'll see you soon. Season 2 continues on Live at Chance's House with the Nomadic. See you guys.
Like a long lost leaf on the wind, the night it will end as the daylight begins, wondering where today will take you, floating drifting away. things do